Hey, welcome to the Diabetes Remission Roadmap podcast with the two renegade pharmacists, Brian Bisher and Cory Jenks. You are listening to this because you are a person with type 2 diabetes who is committed and driven to breaking free from this diagnosis and creating a real, meaningful change in your health and life. In these episodes, we're here to help you ditch the scripts with doses of unconventional wisdom on topics such as fitness, nutrition, medication, mindset, and more. So without any further delay, let's dive right in.
Brian,
Yeah,
it's already like halfway through summer here in Arizona. Our schools did out in May. School's going back in 32 days, but no one's counting. So yeah, August 5th or August 6th, baby, we're back. So
holy cow, man, that is early. That is, I feel like
yeah,
our summer is, I wouldn't even say it's really halfway over yet. It just feels like it's just beginning. So
yeah.
that's the vibe I got. I don't know.
Well, that's how we roll in Tucson, and we are having a blast this summer. We got two of the three kids home every day, so I'm playing the role of pharmacist, camp counselor, dad, batting practice pitcher, golf. I call myself the daddy caddy because I carry their golf clubs around to our little clinics and things. So it's work, but it's been fun. For those of you listening, my kids are 2, 5, and 7, so there's no breaks. But tonight we're getting a date night. They're going to the grandparents' house. So
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we
yeah.
got, sounds like a fun summer though. Lots of
Hmm.
activities, and that's what this is all about, is like being able, that's what the whole thing with wanting to put diabetes in remission is all about, is so you have more freedom to do the things you actually love in life, right?
Yeah.
And now it seems like we used to have to. I've never had diabetes myself. I know you haven't, but and I've had complaints or heard people talk about like how it used to be just so hard to even get testing supplies. Remember like the days when people
Hmm.
had to bag just for test strips and have all that stuff now. And now what we got going on? We got like over the counter continuous glucose monitors. You can just literally go on your computer and order one. It'll get shipped to your door. You can go to
Hmm.
this. You can go to the store. You can go to CVS and just buy one of these things now. So let's talk a little about these monitoring machines that people have
Yeah.
for
I just want to go back and say when it sounded like you said you used to have to bag for test strips. It's beg.
oh,
Your whatever Southern Ohio accent you have might be confusing to our listeners. So yeah, begging for test strips. In fact, I don't know if you always had the signs posted on like street corners like cash for test strips because they were so in demand, but people would sell their test strips for cash. They were so valuable. They were currency. And now it's really not hard to get testing supplies. And I love the new technology coming out that we have. So back in the day, all we had were those finger sticks, right? Those machines where you get a little blood,
hmm
poke yourself, get some blood, get that real time sugar checking, and maybe you could check every morning before you eat, get that fasting reading, and then sometimes before bed. And if you're on insulin, you're supposed to check yourself like 4 times a day, which sounds absolutely miserable. And for the record, I have self-tested myself so that I could feel the empathy and pain that my patients felt. But we got some new technology, Brian, and it's exciting. We kind of have to beg for these in a way sometimes
Yeah.
to get insurance to pay for them. But continuous glucose monitors, that's the big deal.
Yeah, they are. And now, like you said, it used to be finger sticks 4 times a day. Now you get this reading, it's every like 5 minutes, and then you just get this amazing data and curve and seeing the trends. And I myself, I've worn one. I've just wanted to experience what it was like to see my blood sugar in real time, see the effects that stress, sleep, and food, and all those things we've talked about have on my blood sugar. I'm we can get higher blood sugar spikes too. It just doesn't. It comes down more easily than when people have diabetes. But yeah, I want to get into some of the different the advantages, disadvantages, like what's available out there for people. What should people be going for, the prescribed version, or should they just go for the over-the-counter version? Are you familiar
Well,
with that?
I think that if you can get your insurance to pay for it, get a prescription for it. And in my experience as a clinician, harder to get coverage unless you are on insulin or having some wild variability in your sugars, having really bad lows, which I think is a travesty. I think the what I get from patients is like these are some of the best tools they have for taking ownership of their blood sugar and for making the changes needed to control it and then ultimately come off medicines. But I think that whether you have a prescription or some of the over-the-counter versions as well, I mean, you have the Dexcom Stelo, the Abbott Libre Rio, the Abbott Lingo. So those are ones that you don't need a prescription, you pay cash for, you can buy them over the counter, versus something like the Freestyle Libre. Well, 3 is and 3 Plus are the newest of those, and the Dexcom 7 are the newest from that company, where you need a prescription. And
Hmm.
so I honestly, I get on X sometimes, Brian, and one of the biggest, hottest, tastiest debates that I see are people going back and forth on the utility of CGMs, or continue. I'm going to call them CGMs from here on out.
Yeah.
Because I think for people who have type 2 diabetes, it's a great tool, but there's people in like the optimizing space who they're optimizers who don't have diabetes, and they get one of these on their arm, and every time their blood sugar goes up like 2 ticks, they freak out like they're gonna die.
Yeah.
Um, when the reality is like normal, and like some increases after you eat is normal. It's okay. But what are some of the metrics that you can think? Advantages, of course, you're not pricking your finger, right?
Yeah.
So from a human nature side of things, the fewer berries you have between something, you're going to use it more. So, and that's what my patients say. They're like literally sick and tired and in pain from pricking their fingers. So, just that is a huge advantage. But there's a lot of metrics you get off of a CGM that you might not be able to get from finger sticks. Isn't that right, Brian?
Oh yeah, for sure. And just to back up real quick, you mentioned the three different over-the-counter versions. Kind of seeing here the Stellos, they're not designed for insulin people, like people who are on insulin. So if you're on
Mhm.
that, you've got to be going to your doctor if you want a CGM to get that prescription. Um, yeah, like looks like the Libre version is for more like lifestyle managed type 2, and then the Abbott Lingo is even more for those maybe like those biohackers, the optimizers you talked about. That's who they're kind of marketing towards. Um, but yeah, the advantages. So I kind of talk about blood sugar finger sticks. Like unless you're like mapping it out and charting it, you can kind of freak out for no reason. You're not going to see the trends in the data. That's really gonna. You can have like the overreaction to. And I mentioned this on a previous episode. Go back and listen to that. But like you might have like an overreaction to just a number, and so
Mhm.
you're not gonna unless you really put that number in context, it's not going to be super insightful to help you guide future decisions, and you might just freak out over a reading. Whereas with the CGMs, that's less of a mouthful. You get the trends, and you get the time in therapy, like time not therapeutic range, the time in
I'm a
goal
target.
range. Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
so you can see all those trends. You can see more low blood sugar events. You can see more high, like when you're going highest overnight. And we all people can maybe talk about look at their trends overnight, but like it is normal for your blood sugar just to go up overnight. That's your liver doing its job. So yeah, what did I miss there? What are some of the other, I guess, advantages?
Well, what I say is that when you see that single number and you freak out, you're going to stress, raise your cortisol, and your sugar is going to go up. So that's no good. But
Yeah.
I think that when we're looking at some of the things with the CGMs, one of the things I like is this measure called GMI, and it's basically an equivalent A1C percentage. So A1C being a 3 month blood sugar average.
Oh yeah.
With some of these apps, you're going to get a GMI. So the A1C is helpful for trends long term. I think the CGMs and finger sticks are good for knowing real time blood sugar, but you want to know where you're going from and going to. And I think a GMI kind of helps you zoom out. What like you can zoom in micro on like a daily basis with your sugar with the CGM, but like a GMI, I really like because you're seeing what's happening long term. I like that you can see the non-food things that are affecting your sugar. Like I've had patients tell me like I was stressed for something and my sugar went up and I never knew that before, or I had a bad night of sleep and my sugar was higher. So it helps to sort of take off some of the pressure of food, because I think food's a big lever that we pull with blood sugar management from a non-medication
Hmm.
perspective, but it helps to give people a little bit of grace and realizing like I'm knocking it out of the park with my diet. What the hell's going on? And it's well, you're stressed or things. So that helps them make those sorts of other interventions. And I think that seeing what's happening, because we can do like for a traditional healthcare model, you see a doctor at best, or me as a pharmacist at best once a month. What did you eat? Well, I don't know. And what'd your sugar do? Well, like real time, you could put notes into your thing and say like, well, I
Yeah.
had grapes and it went up, but I had berries and it didn't go up as much. Okay, great. Well, I like fruit. Well, what's a fruit that's going to be less? It helps you take control.
Hmm.
And so I think that, like, as far as who's going to benefit from this, I given the fact that like most people have some sort of metabolic disease in the United States, I think and this is maybe going to careful with the biohacker group here, but like if everyone put a CGM on for like 2 weeks, you'd be like, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on here. But I think that if you've been diagnosed with like pre-diabetes, it's really useful to help you prevent progressing to type 2 diabetes. If you're newly diagnosed and you're hell-bent on not utilizing medications, it's really useful. Um, if you traditionally are just checking fastings, you might be missing post-meal spikes.
Hmm.
So you can see that. Um, and yeah, I think we're two pretty athletic guys, and I've also done the CGM experiment, and I've also gone down the road of like freaking out a little bit more than I probably need to. So there's diminishing returns for a generally healthy person. But if you have a history of diabetes in your family, you have pre-diabetes, if you ever had gestational diabetes, like I think those are all really great groups that can
Yeah.
benefit. And then of course if you have diabetes and you're taking medications and you especially if you want to get off them, this gives you the biggest thing I've heard from patients is like, I never knew blank. I never knew this caused that. And now I can do something about it. And it's been revolutionary for people getting off their medicines.
Yeah. It gives them leverage to say, hey, look at this. This is how my blood sugars have been. And yeah, it gives people leverage to justify going to the doctor and say, hey, look at my time in range, like goal range here. And my numbers are really great. My GMI is predicting this. We don't have to wait for this blood sugar, this blood check to see my A1C. But only I think we kind of get besides the let me cut this. I think what we do is we still give too much power to just the blood sugar readings. And what I mean by that is like when it comes down to it, I'm gonna have high blood sugars, but like diabetes is not just about blood sugar, but it's about reversing the insulin resistance. And you're not going to get like you're the less you're insulin resistant, the better your body's going to respond and the lower blood sugar spikes you should have. Really, it's like, but if you still eat a cookie, your blood sugar is going to spike up. It's just more now how fast does that reading come down on its own versus
Yeah.
before. Like if I eat a cookie, my blood sugar is still going to go up, but it's going to come down. But with type 2 diabetes, it's going to take longer.
Hmm.
So the faster you see that start to come down on its own, yeah, obviously movement can help, walking can help speed up the process. And that's really cool to see in real time too. Like you get those trends of like the rate of blood sugar change on those devices. Um, but all in all, like you still have to lose the extra energy, the fat, to reverse insulin resistance. Just getting your numbers, excuse me, like in check. If you're still taking medications, like you, I guess my point is like, how do people use these to put in actual in remission? What does remission look like when you're using a CGM?
I think it means that you can come off your medications and still have reasonably normal blood sugars. Like for me, if your A1C is 7.2 and you're on a couple medicines and you can go to like 6.4% on no medicines, that's a huge win. Like that's two less medicines, your sugar's overall better. Like we're gonna try to trend down. Um, and for me, it's if you're seeing a spike after you eat something and it's coming down faster. So this is where you can use that data from the past and say, well, in the past, my sugar would go to this number and it would take 4 hours for it to come down, but it went to a lower number and it took 30 minutes for it to come down. All right, that's a huge win. That's showing that the insulin resistance is being reversed and we're improving. So it it can be useful. It's as much as you want to put that data to use. And some people, some patients just want to look at it and say, this is what my sugar is. I'm doing better. Great. And some can really use that to empower them to make those changes and see the changes that they've implemented with their lifestyle in improving their sugar.
Yeah, yeah, I think you said it better than I did. So yeah, looking at the
I
how,
did. I definitely did,
yeah, you
Brian, but
definitely
that's
did.
okay.
I was also distracted a little bit, but uh, that's the children.
Yeah. Summer,
The
the summer of young kids, everybody. This is real life. We're two real life guys with two real life families, and between the two of us, six very loud kids. So we appreciate you rolling with the real world effects we're here. But here's a little segue to that. Okay. CGMs help you navigate the real world. When you're out at a party, when you're out with friends, when you're having a presentation at work, you're going to have that tool to remind you. And I think that when data is top of mind, there's a reminder there that will help you make those different choices in times. Maybe it means some deep breathing before you have a presentation. Maybe it means when someone brings in the store-bought cookies, you know that you don't want to eat those because you'll know what'll happen. So it helps with accountability. So I think that's one big word that my patients will use is accountability.
Not only that, I think it's the Hawthorne effect. You feel like you're being watched.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
the biggest pro to these is you just have that like, oh, I'm being watched. Even if you're watching yourself, or if you have someone on your team, like you're showing this data to and getting even better insight uh, and recommendations from. Like you have a pharmacist in a clinic, or you have a coach, someone guiding you. It just gives them even more information to help you. Although you could be helping yourself, and you have like that thought of like, oh, I'm being watched. I'm literally like it's called the Hawthorne effect. So if you look it up, you could probably get more details on that than what I can give you here. But let's
It's
talk
like if
about
your boss is standing over your shoulder at work, you're
yeah,
not going to be browsing the internet at different sites. You're going to
that's
actually do
yeah,
your
good
job.
point.
Um, so we've talked a lot of like what they are, how they work, the benefits. There are some downsides. I think it can be expensive. Like if you're not covered by insurance, you're buying over the counter. For some people, it's out of reach with what their cost is. So that's something to be aware of, right, Brian?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
any
then
new technology is going to be more expensive than the older ones. Although right now I feel like if you want to buy a flip phone, it's actually much more harder to find and pay for than a smartphone. But that's just my personal journey of looking that up. So
that's the trend towards minimalism. But
yeah.
and another downside kind of thing is like alert anxiety. You can have that overreaction and kind of let one little alert kind of ruin your whole day and say, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna, because my blood sugar went up this time, like I don't even care. I'm just gonna eat this, gonna eat this, gonna eat that. And or just have like the constant alerts going off because it's either not accurate, it got dislodged, like it's just not fully reading. And I've had people that have like had issues with that. They're like, man, I just whenever I sleep, my alarm's going off, it's waking me up at night. So those are just like real world potential problems with wearing these. I think not everybody could benefit from having like a 14-day, 2 week trial run just to really test out some of the foods just to see the response. But again, like it's not the only tool. Like you have to still reverse the root cause, and you have to do that through, like we talked about, exercise, strengthening, energy toxicity reversal. This is not like a magic bullet for that. So
Yeah, and another thing with all the data and being able to see your sugars real time, I've had those very independent patients who are like, "Well, I saw my sugars did this, so I did that with my medications." It's like you've got to have a plan. You got to have a team where you work. I have a couple patients that were like retired nurses that I'm like, okay, like you, okay, but like for the most part, the general population just does not often realize the potential dangers of self-adjusting medications for blood sugar,
yeah.
especially insulin. So working with with your care team to have a plan for your sugars going up or down, or and this is where that like overreacting to a single number can like throw things out of whack. Because I'll have patients that say, "Well, my sugar was higher, so I doubled my insulin or something," and they'll double their like they'll have a post meal spike and they'll
Mhm.
double their basal or long acting insulin. Which is not going to bring down a post meal spike, but could drop you dangerously low in the middle of the night. Not saying that it's happened, but it's happened. So I, I mean, we love patients and clients that are out there researching things, trying to take things in their own hands. But if you don't have a solid plan to back you up, it can get dangerous. So, anyways, that's
So let's kind of wrap this up because
yeah.
I, when should people really maybe consider using one of these, and when should they just be like switch to spot checking? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if you have consistently had trouble getting your sugar under control, and or your medications continue to escalate, and or you're not using one of these devices or checking your sugar regularly, getting a handle on things, even if it's just for like a couple of weeks or a month, can be really important. Like if you're just like up in arms, like what am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything the doctor says, and my sugars are still going up. I think that that is a great opportunity to utilize one of these.
Yeah. And again, check with your doctor, your care team, because we're not giving it any advice here. This is just us talking back and forth about the pros and cons of these
Yeah.
CGMs. So I think that's that's really it. I mean, I didn't have anything else. Do you have anything else people should take away from this episode?
I think that having reasonable goals about where your blood sugar could be,
Yeah.
if you're up over like a number to throw out there is like 70% of being in range is pretty solid. If you're going to use one of these, try to change your habits, right? Utilize it to make some differences in around your when you're eating. Like this is a great opportunity to put those data that say a 5 minute walk before or after a meal can improve sugars. Well, see it, look at it,
Yeah.
let it like when you see that number before or after a meal, let it remind you that it's time to go for a little walk.
Yeah.
And every one of these is going to have its own life, each one of these sensors. So making sure that you're not wearing it well beyond its expiration date is
You'll get it'll alarm you. Trust me.
yeah. So
Uh, the funny that you mentioned that actually using it because the evidence does show like people change I think at least one behavior or modify one eating habit majority of the time wearing one of these. However, you do get those few people every once in a while. You're like, I just tell people I'm like, it's been some people I'm like, I don't even know. You don't need one of these because you're not using it.
mhm,
You're not using it. You're not on any medication that is gonna drop you too low and you're not obviously using the data like the trends to adjust your eating habits.
mhm,
You're not exercising anymore. And granted, this is like, a more elderly person who was just maybe a little bit more stubborn, hard-headed, but I'm like, you really don't need this CGM. So
yeah. Yeah,
I
a fasting finger stick
it's
will be just as good for what you're going to do with it. So,
yeah,
well, yeah, and as you can tell, like this is like a new, it's like the not the Wild West, but it's a new frontier in blood sugar management. And I keep waiting for the Apple Watch to have a blood sugar sensor in it. They keep teasing that at some point, like a smart watch is going to have a sugar sensor, which if it's that good, could put these out of business.
yeah.
So I wonder if
I
they're going to
heard
lobby
contacts.
contact lenses.
Yeah, I heard about contacts one time too. So I don't
Oh
know.
wow. Yeah, what a time to be alive, everybody. So, a lot of tools out there, and it's always important to pair a tool with a plan, because a tool can be great or it can harm you, whether
Yeah,
it's insulin, a CGM, or a chainsaw, which
yeah,
Brian and I do not touch.
yeah, yeah.
We do not touch chainsaws, so
No
we are not
chainsaws here.
handy. If anyone here is handy and lives in the greater Cincinnati or Tucson area, please let us know. We are always in desperate need of great help around the house because we spend all our time helping you out with this information, being nerds about this data. So,
Yeah,
tell us what you think. Have you worn a CGM? Have you seen a difference? Do you think that they're overused, underused? Send us an email. Let us know. We can put it on another FAQ episode. But Brian, that's all I got. This was fun.
yeah,
Managing blood sugar now is so much easier than it was when we started our careers. But it's all about having the right education and the team together to help you out.
for sure. And that reminds me, just check out the masterclass. It is in the comments or the show notes. The link there. It's brand new. It's up. It is been getting a lot of traction, and yeah, it's great. So check it out
Yeah.
and let us know what you think.
Yeah, we are more proud of that than anything we have ever built physically. So please
Yeah,
indulge us and never look at any of our housework again. So until next time, Brian, keep having a great summer. Keep playing with those kids. I'll keep playing with mine, and we know better than to think they'll ever be quiet, but that's okay. Thanks for listening, everybody.
thanks for listening. Now go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And you can join us on the journey and roadmap to remission. Thanks for listening to the Diabetes Remission Roadmap. The ideas discussed here are for general informational purposes only and do not constitute medical or nutritional advice. We are pharmacists, but we're not your personal healthcare providers. Always consult your own physician or qualified clinician before changing medications, exercise routines, or nutrition plans. Results vary, and what works for one person may not work for another.